Welcome back to This is VANCOLOUR. You know what else is back? Pipeline politics. And BC seems to be caught flat-footed because our premier hasn't been exactly clear on our province's position, which is maybe why the Prime Minister and two other premiers were talking about a pipeline through our province discharging on our coastline without us at the table. Let me explain, and let's take a moment. After Prime Minister Mark Carney, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith, and even Saskatchewan Scott Moe discussed a new oil pipeline to our north coast without BC Premier David Eby or our province even in the room, British Columbia needs to be crystal clear. Either we oppose a pipeline moving Alberta's oil to BC's north coast, or we set the conditions we need to support that pipeline. This is a generational decision with consequences, and we can't pretend it's not real.
There is no pipeline project across the north. There is no route. There is no proponent. There is no financing.
Except Premier Smith has support from Prime Minister Carney, and a pipeline application is coming this spring with Alberta as the proponent to get the project designed and permitted before passing it off to the private sector. And Premier Eby said that he's not opposed to a northern pipeline if it's privately financed. And this pipeline would require a federal oil tanker ban to be lifted for tankers to conduct port operations at northern BC ports, and Premier Eby knows that spill risk is highest where oil handling intersects sensitive shorelines like those found in northern BC, which is why he insists that this pipeline threatens fragile consensus among coastal First Nations backing other major resource projects.
That we have 4 times more major projects on the board than any other province in Canada, and the vast majority of those projects rely on the support of the coastal First Nations, for whom the oil tanker ban is the sole reason why they're able to tolerate those other projects.
Wait, so do we support the pipeline if it's privately funded, or do we oppose it entirely because it blows up our other major resource projects? Because Premier Eby has basically said both. And while the issue is outside of the mandate that the BC NDP government barely won in 2024, you remember, the worst election ever, BC needs to be clear here. And with the stakes this high, the provincial government should look to us, British Columbians, for that clarity, even if it means calling a snap election to figure it out. Folks, that's our show. Thank you so much to Sam Cooper and Blair Manton for their time tonight. If you have any thoughts about extortion, debt collectors, or pipelines, shoot me an email, mo@thisisvancolour.com. And also you can find me, unless I owe you money, on social media at VANCOLOUR. Clearly, there's a lot going on in BC, so if you need to unplug and get away from it all, check out our friends at the Pacific Sands Beach Resort in Tofino. They're supporting local conversations right here on This is VANCOLOUR. We're back next week with some funny guys that I know you will love, but until then, stay colorful. Peace.